Good evening and welcome to the Clat Possible YouTube channel. Today we will be taking up a very special session on the protests that have been taking place in Israel. We will also be talking about Pakistan, and I will be giving you a lot of examples from India too. So, what is this session all about? If I have to say it in very simple terms, this is about the fact whether or not we should allow our elected representatives to compromise the independence of the judiciary. Well, why should the judiciary be independent? The judiciary has to be independent because it is the guardian of the constitution, whether it is written or unwritten in nature. You see, some people also say that the judiciary is not representing the will of the people. Well, in one way, you can say that because the judiciary consists of people who have not been elected by us. But on the other hand, we also know that, whenever we elect people in the legislature and who become the ruling party, it is very important to keep them in check too. And that is what is the job of the judiciary. So sometimes what happens is the government just doesn't want that to happen. They don't want the judiciary to come and tell them what to do and what not to do. And so they try to interfere with the independence of the judiciary. And then what is the result of that? Sometimes it results into a protest, like in the case of Israel. And in other times, what happens is, it leads to another judicial case that renders such an amendment or such an intervention as null and void. So now that we know a little bit about it, let's get down to the protests in Israel. So about 5% of their population was on the streets opposing a particular bill that was introduced by the ruling government. And as of today, when we are making this video, the ruling government in Israel has basically said that they are going to put a hold on this particular bill. Now, we need to understand what this bill is all about. Let's start off with the very first one. So here on the screen, you can see the amount of people who are protesting against this bill. Let's start it off. So lakhs of Israelis have been protesting against this bill. Which government are we talking about, and who's the Prime Minister? Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu formed a government last year. He's the Prime Minister of Israel, and it is his party that is allegedly trying to compromise the independence of the judiciary in Israel. You have to understand that Israel does not have a written constitution like India does, right? And so sometimes whenever there is an unwritten constitution, the legislature and the ruling government sort of try to ensure the fact that they have the sovereignty to make any kind of laws that they want to. And that's exactly what the people of Israel do not like in this particular case. Now, who introduced this bill? It was introduced by the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice, Yariv Levin. Kindly keep in mind the names of these people because that is sometimes asked in your competitive examinations. Another thing that you can keep in mind is that the Israeli parliament is also known as Knesset. All right. Okay. Now let's understand what are these amendments. So long story short, they are firstly trying to change the selection process of these judges. Yes. And what do they want? They do not want judges to appoint judges. Now let me give you an example of India. In our constitution, it is written that the president shall appoint the Supreme Court and High Court judges. And due to various many judicial interpretations, which have been taken up by me in the daily newspaper analysis before, we have come to this one particular mode of appointment wherein there is a collegium system in India. And what is collegium? Where judges are appointing judges. Of course, at the end of the day, the signature has to be that of the President of India. But yes, according to the judicial interpretations in our country, it is a collegium system that decides who will become the High Court and Supreme Court judge and who will be transferred from one High Court to another High Court. Well, has this ever been challenged by our government? Yes, it has. In fact, this year, last year, and also in 2014, and also before that, right? By many ruling governments. The prime example amongst them for India is 2014. wherein the National Judicial Appointment Commission was introduced through a constitutional amendment, the 99th constitutional amendment. And well, the Supreme Court said that this is null and void, because whenever the executive, the role of the executive increases in the appointment of the judges, then the impartiality of the judges gets compromised. Yes, and that is exactly what is being said in Israel. This particular bill is proposing to change the selection procedure of the judges in Israel, and they're trying to include a lot of executives instead of the protocol which is followed right now, wherein judges are appointing judges, right? So they want to give more powers to the government in selecting the judges, and the key thrust of the reform is that judges shall not appoint judges. Now, whenever that happens in any kind of a country, you have to understand, if I'm getting a job because of another person, I will somewhere down the line, consciously, subconsciously, try to keep that person in my good books, or try to keep myself in his or her good books. It's a very humanistic behavior, right? That is the first thing that people have a problem with. Now, secondly, they say the government wants to enable the Knesset to override any Supreme Court judgment by a simple majority of 61 votes. Let's talk about India then. Well, whenever we do understand that the judiciary is an interpreter of law and the lawmaker is the legislature. So, can the legislature make any kind of law? No, they can't. And that is because of this judgment that was passed 50 years ago in India called the Keshwananda Bharti versus Union of India case, right? It is because of the Keshwananda Bharti versus Union of India case that there are certain portions of the constitution that just cannot be changed by the parliament. It doesn't matter what kind of a majority you have, you cannot interfere with the basic structure of our constitution. In Israel, in this particular bill, they are saying that they should have the authority to override or to change or to nullify any Supreme Court judgment with a very simple majority. The third point, they also want to scrap the test of reasonability, which the apex court has previously used to strike out executive practices. So, any kind of a judiciary invokes this kind of test of reasonability, wherein they are trying to see that whatever decision has been taken by the executive, is it reasonable in nature or not? What is the intention behind that decision? Is it against the will of the people, or is it for the will of the people? And when I'm talking about the will of the people, I'm talking about the reasonable or justiciable will of the people, right? So they want to scrap that test. And lastly, the government wants to allow ministers to choose their own legal advisors instead of using independent professionals, right? Now, Israel is going to mark its 75th anniversary this year. It got independence on May 14th, 1948, right? The tipping point of this entire thing was when the Prime Minister of Israel fired his defense minister. Again, the name becomes important, Yoav Gallant. And Yoav Gallant, this guy who was the defense minister, he basically said that this kind of a judicial bill is very wrong. It will compromise the independence of the judiciary, and it will, at the end of the day, go against the will of the people, because you see, whenever you have the authority to do something, then it depends upon the person whether they want to utilize it in a good way or in a bad way. And so the legislature might end up making such laws and might remove the jurisdiction or override the judicial decisions on those laws, no matter the result that law has. You know, there are two types of laws: A, which is good for the people; B, which is not good for the people. The bills that are not good for the people, or the acts that are not good for the people, should ideally be made null and void by the judiciary. But if this bill gets converted into an act, the ruling party basically has the authority, or the Parliament or the Knesset basically has the authority to override such a judicial decision. The defense minister said that, and then he got fired. The president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, again the name is important, said that the abyss of civil war was within touching distance. So he's trying to say that if you're going to convert this into an act, the day is not far away that there's going to be a civil war in Israel. Thousands of protesters have gathered outside the Knesset, and well, as of now, the Israeli government has said that they are going to wait for some time and then they are going to introduce this or convert this bill into an act. Even before the new government was formed as a quid pro quo, right? Something in return for something. The Likud, which is the political party of the present prime minister, they tried to keep its allies. And what is the law that they passed? They said if the judiciary has convicted any person of any crime, provided that person has not been sentenced to prison, that person can still continue to be a minister, right? And well, the present prime minister of Israel also has a lot of corruption cases going against him. So a lot of people in Israel believe that such kind of reforms or laws are being made so that these people can continue to rule the government and well make any kind of laws that they want to, and such things should not be done because again it will go against the will of the people. So that is that about Israel. The names of the prime minister, the president, the deputy prime minister, as well as the defense minister who got fired is very, very important. Tel Aviv is the capital and we know that, right? And secondly, you should also know the kind of things that they are trying to do with respect to the judiciary. Right? I hope and pray that this doesn't get converted into an act, but in case it does, it will 100% compromise the independence of the judiciary. Now, the next case is Pakistan. Pakistan, again, the Prime Minister of Pakistan made this statement that history will not forgive us if we don't curtail the powers of the Chief Justice. Now, what is happening over here? We've already spoken about the previous Prime Minister Imran Khan. We know that there are a lot of allegations that are being made on Imran Khan and that he's been taken to trial. We've also come to know that his supporters do not like it, and we also know that the judges are sort of postponing giving the decision. And now what has happened is, if I just tell you in some few simple words what is going on right now, is that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Pakistan seems to have taken a suo motu decision. Suo motu means on his own, right? He puts any kind of judge that he wants to in the bench, right? He changes the bench whenever he wants to. And well, it has also been alleged by the Prime Minister that somewhere down the line, he's favoring Imran Khan. Right? So let's talk about this a little. Now, the Supreme Court is hearing a case about the decision of the Election Commission of Pakistan to postpone the provincial election till October 8th, well beyond the 90 days deadline by the Constitution to hold elections after the dissolution of an assembly. So according to their constitution, whenever an assembly gets dissolved, within the next 90 days, elections need to be held, right? But however, the Election Commission of Pakistan is postponing that provincial election beyond that particular date, right? And that is the case that is being taken up by the courts in Pakistan. Now, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Sharif, he said that, the Chief Justice of India is taking decisions on his own. He is being very authoritative. He is doing a lot of favoritism. And, well, they need to do something about it. They need to curtail his powers. Not end his powers, limit his powers, right? So what had happened was there was a judgment wherein there were two dissenting judges who were not happy with the decision, who did not side with the majority decision. What are the names of those two justices? Justice Mansoor Ali Shah and Justice Jamal Khan. Right? So we will keep in mind the names of these two dissenting judges, right? And they lashed out at the unlimited authority of the Chief Justice to take a suo motu action or on his own on any issue and constitute the benches of choice to hear different cases. Well, what comes to mind is another Chief Justice of India, and his name is Deepak Mishra, Justice Deepak Mishra. some similar allegations were also put upon the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. And that particular case was the master of the roster case. Now, what is roster? Roster is basically schedule making, right? In our country, the Chief Justice of India is considered to be the first amongst equals. Not so long ago, I think in 2017, few justices of the Supreme Court did a press conference. It was an unprecedented move. And they basically said that, the Chief Justice of India is is handing out cases on his own accord. Well, that is the job of the Chief Justice of India. But what they tried to say was, like there is match fixing in a cricket match, they alleged that he was doing bench fixing. Now, what is bench fixing? Bench ka matlab kya hota hai? Group of judges sitting together. So they say, if there is a little, politically motivated case, so he puts some other justice over there. If it is not a politically motivated case, then he puts another set of judges. What happened after that? Well, there was a move in Rajya Sabha to remove the Chief Justice of India at that time or impeach him. But well, that did not, it was a fruitless move because the chairman of Rajya Sabha at that time, who was Venkaiah Naidu, he basically rejected that petition and he had the authority to do that. Next, there was a case that said, who should make the roster? Who should decide kaun se bench mein kaun sa judge baithega India mein? And well, the decision was that Chief Justice of India is the master of the roster. That is a bit of information with respect to India. Now let's move back to Pakistan. So these judges say that, he is taking suo motu decisions. He's keeping judges on, he's also sort of, if I have to use the same word, he's doing a little bit of bench fixing in certain cases. All right, so their judgment was about the case of suo motu notice taken by Chief Justice, very important to learn his name, Umar Ata Bandial, on February 22nd about the elections in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa provinces, right? There's a lot of unrest in these areas right now. It was openly challenged for the first time by the two judges who were a part of that bench that directed the Election Commission to consult with the President Arif Ali for polls in Punjab and Governor Ghulam Ali for elections in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Now, the 5-member bench was reconstituted by the Chief Justice of Pakistan. And once, he reconstituted it and he took a suo motu action against the delay in the elections and initially formed a 9-member bench to deal with this issue. Now, 2 people of this 9-member bench, they sort of dissented. Another 2 recused themselves, said, we don't want to be a part of this, right? And then later on, it prompted the Chief Justice to form a new bench. So it's almost like, you're not giving or you're not going to give a decision that I want. So hence I can change the bench whenever I want to. And I will put the kind of judges that I want to put because, well, I'm the master of the roster. Now, I'm not talking about India. I'm talking about Pakistan, right? The Prime Minister also said that the courts were treating Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Chief Imran Khan very, very favorably and were not ready to hold him accountable yet, right? Well, that is that about Pakistan, a little bit of how their judges are being appointed. So the Judicial Commission of Pakistan is a constitutional forum which recommends that who should be appointed as the judge of Supreme Court. And who all are a part of this particular commission? It's a 9-member commission wherein the Chief Justice of Pakistan, 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, the Federal Law Minister, the Attorney General, a retired judge of the Supreme Court, and a nominee of Pakistan Bar Council is also a part of it. So in both the cases, we have seen that the ruling government of a particular country is not happy with the way that the judiciary is working. In one case, which is Israel, they utilized their majority, tried to make a bill, tried to compromise the independence of the judiciary, but the people of that country protested and they went out into the street. And, well, it forced the ruling government to not take back the bill yet, but at least put it on a pause. In the other country, which is Pakistan, we have seen that allegedly it has been said that by the present day ruling government, that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Pakistan is favoring an ex-PM. And for electoral process, they are not taking decisions then and there. And the Chief Justice is basically doing bench fixing. He's taking suo motu decisions whenever he wants to. He's taking out judges from a particular bench whenever he wants to. He's placing judges in a bench whenever he wants to. And well, the Prime Minister of Pakistan won't have it and says that, history will not forgive us if we don't curtail the powers of the Chief Justice. Well, that is all from my side. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and I'll meet you soon with another topic. Till then, keep studying hard, and thank you very much.